I have the feeling that our assembly has come together in a quite complete form again. Yeah? So the German. Nein, es geht, es ist gut, ja.
No encuentro el texto de esta tarde. Lo das en español, solo tengo en alemán. De esta tarde. No lo encuentro. O lo tengo por el medio y no lo encuentro. Tengo el alemán solo. Es complejo.
Sometimes I remember a famous saying of the Prussian king Frederick II, after the battle of Kunersdorf, I think in 1759. He said to his soldiers, Hunde, wollt ihr ewig leben?
Perros, ¿quieres vivir toda la vida? ¿Quieren vivir siempre? Perros quieren vivir siempre.
Eternamente, ewig.
Wollt ihr ewig leben, nicht wahr?
La diferencia eternamente y siempre.
And for students that always come back, you could say, Hunde, wollt ihr ewig lernen?
Perros quieren aprender siempre, o eternamente.
Eternamente, ja.
Variar con esa expresión, de vivir o aprender.
Ja. Mm-hmm.
Bueno, vamos al capítulo.
So, today we have a very demanding task. So we have a little bit more than 1 hour and a half in order to grasp the core chapter of the second volume of this book. So the book Spheres II, or globes, as such, means to me something like a kind of Trauerarbeit of metaphysics. Probably you know this beautiful, even if problematic, Freudian term of Trauerarbeit.
El trabajo del duelo freudiano es este capítulo, la metafísica, de eso trata este capítulo 5.
So psychoanalysis, in a certain way, is based on the concept of mourning or trauern. And Sigmund Freud coined that term of labor of mourning as a description of what happens when human beings are separated from those individuals, so human companions that had shared their life in an important period of time, and when they discover the mortality of the other, they discover at the same time the necessity to live in different timelines. Life is, as it were, a patchwork of interwoven timelines in which my line is interwoven with timelines of those I love and those who have taught me, and of those who have been my parents, and those who have accompanied my life during its origins and constitutive periods. And the labor of mourning sets in the very moment when you discover that there is not one single time for all, a homogeneous time that we all share, that time is, as it were, a patchwork or a textile, very complicated textile that is constituted out of the different timelines of those who coexist and allow the other to experience shared time. So my time, your time, that is the essence of coexistence. Because if existence as such means being thrown into a temporality, it means at the same time that I'm condemned to discover the temporality of the other. That is a subject that Emmanuel Levinas has elaborated on a very deep level. You know? And according to him, quoting Heidegger, the death itself is just the impossibility to have a project. But a project, and here Levinas in that point does not yet speak out his ultimate thoughts. He does not say if it is my project or your project or a common project. So mortality and temporality lead us to the discovery that we share a common time. You know, of our being there is, as it were, a mosaic, you know, or a patchwork of interwoven existential temporalities, and the very moment when the other withdraws, disappears, and when his thread of time, his thread of life, is cut off, I'm confronted with the fact that time is essentially finite. So it is in one of the sonnets of Shakespeare, you find a very beautiful line that goes approximately like this, and such as the waves at the sea follow each other, so our minutes hasten to their end. This is an incredibly beautiful and poetic description of the work of finiteness. It is so the hastening of the minutes that hurry up to reach their end. In a beautiful compare with the ocean and the sea matter. But what I try to do here is a kind of labor of mourning on a higher level. But not only individual lives have this temporal structure marked by finiteness, but also whole ways of being, whole civilizations, or to put it in Heideggerian terms, whole epochs of being. I might remind you that famous paragraph 125 from the gay science of Nietzsche, where he introduces the strange character of the madman. This is a man who runs out to the marketplace at daylight with a lantern or a lamp in his hand, shouting out, "I'm looking for man." This is, by the way, a quotation from Diogenes Laertius' Lives and Opinions of Famous Philosophers, the most important compilation of sayings and traditions concerning the philosophers of antiquity. And the sixth book of Diogenes Laertius is dedicated to the Stoic and the Stoic and cynical school of thought. And here you find all the anecdotes concerning Diogenes from Sinope. Nietzsche takes up the character of Diogenes of Sinope in order to tell another story. He's running also at daylight into the marketplace, shouting, "God is dead." So it is a quotation from Diogenes Laertius, to be sure, but he uses this strange character of the original cynic to incarnate a new message that is announced among the crowd, and it is characteristic for the character of the cynic that he cannot believe, and he must not believe, that the others will believe. So he believes in the disbelief of the others, and that is the situation of that what Eugen Rosenstock Hussey has called the negative prophet, or the disangelist. So the 19th century, according to Rosenstock Hussey, was the age of disangelism, whereas the epoch of metaphysics and religious metaphysics was the angelic age, the age of good news. The 19th century, according to Rosenstock Hussey, is the beginning of the age of bad gospels, or disangelic messengers. And for him, there were 4 of them necessarily, because if there are 4 versions of the good message, there probably will also be 4 versions of the bad one. Marx, Feuerbach, Marx, Darwin, Nietzsche, Freud. They all had a sad or a bad message to convey to their fellow citizens, messages that were designed to destroy former beliefs, evangelic beliefs that met their counterparts in correlative, disangelic messages. And that is the reason why I called the second volume of my book as a whole a labor of mourning for metaphysics. Because metaphysics as such had also in its own way a meta-evangelic structure. It was not only the good news that the cosmos exists, the good news that the Mesopotamian pessimism has been overcome. That is the pessimism that was characteristic for all those people who do not participate in the new covenant that God had made with his chosen people after the flood. There's the Abrahamic covenant, and there is the second covenant after the flood, where God himself has to make a kind of new deal with humanity. My friend Rüdiger Safransky once told in a little bit respectless way that God himself had transformed himself from a fundi into a realo. These are terms from the German Green. The German Greens are composed out of 2 different tendencies. The fundis, the fundamentalists, are the radical Green, and the others are those who have entered into the parliamentarian game, sogenannte Realos, the realistic part of the Green movement, that who are ready to deal with reality. Whereas the fundis insist on what Max Weber has called Gesinnungsethik, so the ethics of pure good intentions. Whereas the other one are called the Verantwortungsethik, the ethics of responsibility. This is the ethics of the Realos, and according to Safransky, the meaning of the flood myth and the new rainbow symbol, which is, as it were, the signature of God under the new contract with humanity, or especially with the chosen people. The meaning of the flood myth as such was already God's own transformation from a fundamentalist into an anthropological realist. So that he had learned that his own creatures will never act as he expected. And from that moment on, his attitude towards humanity becomes much more flexible, and he is much less inclined to destroy all of the all members of the human race just because some of them did not fully obey his laws. But what I wanted to say, it is only a relatively small enclave within the totality of the Near East and the Mesopotamian peoples who really entered into the new contract. The new covenant was more or less a special relationship between God and the book of the second covenant. But the rest of the Mesopotamian people lived also further on in the astro-terroristic terror and under the shadow of the terrible memory of the flood and of the cosmic catastrophic events that meant an ongoing threat on the existence of human beings. And the big meaning of Mediterranean culture, especially of Greek philosophy, was to reconcile the non-Jewish part of humanity in a kind of philosophical covenant with the cosmos. That is one of Hegel's great intuitions when he said the meaning of Greek philosophy and Greek culture as such was that they trained us to become familiar with the world again and to choose the cosmos as our oikos. That the oikos, the house, and the cosmos can converge again, and that we are no longer condemned to that strange feeling that Freud and Heidegger alike called Unheimlichkeit. So the Greek, and the mission of Greek philosophy, as it were, consisted in teaching humanity as a post-Greek, post-Mediterranean humanity a new confidence into the cosmos. And that is why the most terrifying things in the world, the Mesopotamian cultures had always observed in holy terror that maybe all these astro-terroristic events maybe could happen again, was transformed in the Greek form of the observation of the sky that transformed itself into a kind of cosmic pre-philosophical meditation of order. Nothing is so orderly, nothing happens so regularly, is so reliable as the movements of the star. That is a totally un-Mesopotamian concept of nature. But for us, who are all more or less, the Gnostics among put apart, but we are all more or less heirs to the Mediterranean cosmization of the cosmos, the transformation of nature into the most reliable thing there is, the transformation of nature into the Big Mother as a guarantee of everything that is orderly, well arranged, reliable, and edifying. We are heirs of this vision of the world, but we have left the space of classical metaphysics. The very moment when we, as modern participants of modern culture, have been led into a new attitude towards nature, which is no longer for us a real cosmos, because we have neutralized nature into a post-cosmic situation. It's just the outer world that contains no promise at all. It is neither good or bad. It is just a more or less regular form of chaos. The modern conception of nature is a vision of as it were, as a chaos that has taken the habits of a relatively well organized chaos on which we can normally rely on. So we are no longer citizens of the cosmos. We have been exiled from the Greek vision of the world. We have lost that edifying confidence that everything which is good is also round. We are now living under the celestic spheres. We have abandoned the Elysium, we have the abundance, the spheres of Jupiter, the sphere of the Sun, the sphere of the Moon, the sphere of Mars, the sphere of Venus. So this system of 8 or 10 celestial spheres that surrounded the Earth like a system of like a cosmic onion. So in the middle of which the Earth was placed and hidden, integrated, and protected by this system of several up unto 10 or 12 layers of protective protective shells and spheres. The material of which, by the way, was supposed to be this famous ether. The ether is the famous fifth substance of Aristotle. Aristotle has introduced the concept of the fifth matter, the fifth essence. The reason why, until today, sometimes we say that something is quintessential. That refers to Aristotle's invention, systematically necessary invention and postulate of a fifth essentia, because his system required a material carrier of the movement of circulation. His concept of movement was based on the assumption that every element, we have 4 elements in the classical physics, Aristotelian physics, that every element has its specific movement. For instance, water has the movement quality of sinking and spreading, sinking vertically and spreading horizontally. The air has a quality of rising and spreading horizontally. That is necessary to understand the nature of winds. The fire has the special quality of incarnating the radical vertical movement upwards. It is so, as it were, the anti-gravitational element. And the Earth is gravity as such, that is that element that has a tendency to fall downwards in a vertical movement. So we have 2 elements that incarnate pure verticality, fire and earth, and we have 2 elements that incarnate lateral movements and vertical movements in a different way, upwards, downwards. So wind, air, and water. And beginning with this system, Aristotle asked himself the question, from where do pure circular movements come from? So circularity was within that system of physics the great enigma of nature. And looking at the stars, he saw the planets perform their perfect circles, observing the sun and the moon. Humans of the antiquity had also the opportunity to see perform then beautiful semicircles. We had to complete these movements by the assumption that the movement continued on the hidden side of the cosmos, and that the same sun and the same moon came back on the other side. There were, by the way, different cultures that made the assumption that every morning a new sun will rise. They did not have that cosmic confidence that the same sun comes again, that behind our back in the night the gods produce a new sun and throw it on its course the next morning. This is also will probably be a culture or civilization of cosmic distrust, because they can never be sure that the gods will do their work during the night, bring a new sun that we were hoping for. But the Greek, luckily, had not this kind of trouble. They simply made the assumptions that it is the same sun that will come back, and that it simply performs a hidden part of a full circle, and that the same sun comes back. But it helped Greek imagination to develop a kind of spatial phantasma that was wide enough to contain the representation of cosmic spheres, of which we only see the upper half. That is very important, because the natural sky we see in a spontaneous way is obviously always only the upper half of a full sphere. But one of the miracles of Greek imagination is that they were capable of completing the half sphere into a full sphere. And that is what the spherical imagination is all about, to produce something whole from the experience of the revealed half. And I'm still convinced that Heidegger's concept of lightning, or clearance, as other English translators have proposed for the concept of Lichtung, that the concept of Lichting still pays tribute to this Greek genius of completing the visible part of the given nature with the second half that we cannot see, but we can postulate. It is, as it were, an experience we all can make when we look to the moon. We spontaneously complete the image of the moon by imagining the invisible part of the full sphere. That is our, as it were, spontaneous training in cosmological thinking. You look to the moon and you immediately think that something is wrong if it only shows the visible part to us. And we immediately think that there has to be a real part we cannot see, but we can conclude that it exists. But as the moon does not turn around, we eventually never see it.
Lichtung es el concepto de Heidegger del claro del bosque, originariamente de Heidegger. Es bien de Licht, de luz, y es un pequeño claro que hay un rescollo de luz en el bosque. Lo aplica la cosmología.
But let me just come back to that central term, Trauerarbeit die Metaphysik, the labor of mourning for metaphysics. That means I do not have any deconstructive impulses or interests. I do not think that metaphysics have ever been so well established that the system needs to be destroyed or deconstructed. I think it would be enough to go around the corpse of metaphysics and to look at it as carefully, as lovingly you can, and say farewell and understand in the last moment, the moment of departure and the moment of severing and saying hello, to look at it as carefully as you can, and you will immediately understand why it could not work and why it could not be maintained over a certain span of time, or beyond a certain span of time. Anyhow, it is seen retrospectively. It is already a miracle that it could last for 2,000 years, and that it could withstand the corrosive work of human intelligence for such a long time. And so what I'm doing in this chapter is, this is, as it were, so the summit or the peak moment of what I call labor of mourning for metaphysics. I go around the tombstone of this, and I'm contemplating the most imminent moments when the metaphysical discourse was really at the peak of its intelligence, of its brilliance, and when it had reached the ripest form it could ever attain. And that's the reason why I had made the proposal that we read together a couple of passages of this book. Once again, do you have that obscene photograph on page 489? Could you see it? This passage is here. Once again, I make this horrible joke with the placenta. But this is, imagine, one of the rare families. The rare, on page, in the German edition, it's page 489. This is after the Margarita Philosophica Nova.
Wie weit ist das von vorne?
Das ist nicht weit, das sind vielleicht 20 Seiten vom Beginn.
Sí, sí, está en la parte izquierda.
Ja, wurde das ausgelassen?
424, no, está aquí. 4,
ja, das ist hier. Nicht?
¿No?
Yeah. This is one of these rare moments when the Trinity is completed. Yes, the moment of completion is a very tricky philosophical argument, because completing is a part of the original operation of thinking. Yeah? But you always complete the part, the invisible part of a totality. And here is probably, according to my knowledge, is one of the really very, very rare pictures when you can see a complete family. Yeah? You see father and mother and child and the placenta. Yeah? Yeah. And it's really unbelievable. And probably there is a perverse midwife in the scene, that demonstrates the invisible twin of the child at the very moment when they get separated. And from that moment on, the role of mother and father is exactly to help the child to repress the memory of its original twin, of the anonymous twin, that will never be baptized and will never carry a name. Usually in the gynecological clinics, these objects are dried out and pulverized and used again als Brandbeschleuniger. You know what I mean? Yeah?
Acelerador de incendio.
Yeah.
Acelerador de incendios.
The clinic sells the substance as a kind of energetic powder that you can throw into fire, and the effect is a little bit as if you would put essence or gasoline into a fire. That's what in German we call it Brandbeschleuniger, so an accelerator of fire. This is the sad destiny of our hidden twins, that disappear in that fiery operations. But this is just a footnote to what I just have been saying on the completing action of the human mind. Usually we do not see the hidden part. But when we see it, we see the full structure. So, and human beings are condemned not to see the round totality, and we always draw conclusions from that part of the revealed world to the other part we do not see. And metaphysics was, as it were, the triumphant discipline of completing the cosmos. It is, as it were, also a kind of the triumph of inductive reason. It is an inductive constructivism. You see just a quarter of the circle, and you draw your own conclusions. And among these conclusions, there is at least one or even two. There are two very edifying ideas that, first of all, that the universe is round. And that roundness is, as it were, a morphological gospel, which is at the very center of metaphysics as a message and as an exercise. Metaphysics has to be an exercise because from the empirical point of view, you can never see the whole circle, and the substance, the essence of the exercise is completing the circle. And this is an inner activity that helps you see that part of the totality that you cannot see. So completing. You have to make an exercise every day, completing. It is just like praying. And you say to the circle, please circle, become a full circle also today. It is unfortunately, Heidegger pretended that the God of philosophers is a God in front of which you cannot pray and dance. But I'm not quite sure that it is true, because true philosophers do nothing else but praying to the circle and say, please circle, behave as a full circle. And make your circularity true also today. And provide us the grace to be as round as a round thing can be. This is the morphological gospel of the full sphericity and circularity of being. And that includes a second element, that if the totality is round, there is no way to escape the evidence of the thought that God himself is also a sphere. And the sphericity of the God sphere is as much invisible as the sphericity of the cosmic sphere. So both of these invisibilities correspond to each other, and if the cosmos can be described as a full sphere, nobody can prevent me from assuming that God himself is even more so, and that he is the archetype of roundness. And this is precisely the idea of Plato, by the way, in that part of his thought that I have called the ontological proof of the sphere. But if God is God, he must possess the qualities of the morphological optimum in the world. A God that would not morphologically the best there is, would not fulfill his own concept, and would not correspond to his own concept. So God is round, quod erat demonstrandum. And if God is round, a pre-existential, a pre-cosmic God is round, the first thing a good God, a sphereologically, morphological, optimal God would do is to convey his own bestness to the first thing he will create, which is a cosmos, which is necessarily, once again, a spheric entity. Otherwise, also a creator God would not correspond to his own concept. And here we are light years away from the nominalistic assumption that the God, which is pure will, does not have to fulfill his own concept. That the nominalism of the 14th century was, as it were, the double outcome of two different kinds of putsch against the primordial rationality of the Greek God, against the necessity of God to correspond to his own concept, and the necessity that he fulfills his own rules, and that he is not a God of arbitrariness. From the 14th century on, the European thought came onto a totally new way because God was emancipated from his rational heritage and emancipated from the sphereological tradition, according to which his very essence was to be round and perfect, and thinking as a good theologist meant automatically to run through a sphereological training that helps you to understand God's qualities. I have a couple of reproductions in these chapters I would like to look on together with you. Let us look first on the picture in the German version on page 469. This is the second page of your copies, or the third page on your copies. Right at the beginning, a very, very strange picture. If you look at it, you will feel
406.
Yeah, you will feel puzzled immediately, because you find God here in a position in which you were not at all prepared to find him. Could you please look at this book, at this picture, and tell me what is wrong with it? Why is it impossible for God to appear in the position in which he is represented in this picture? First, you have to look at the outer circle, and you will understand what this picture represents. This is the classical. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Danke. Gracias.
The classical representation of the Aristotelian cosmos. Yeah. In the outer circle, in the outer sphere, you find, as it were, see, it is absolutely crazy. You find in the outermost circle, you find the lowest sphere that separated the supralunar reality from the the infralunar reality from the superlunar reality. So the biggest frontier within the Aristotelian vision of the world is the separation between the infralunar and the supralunar world. So the Earth, as such, is residing in the infralunar world, and the other part of the world is the ether world. Ether is the matter of which the celestial spheres are made of. And so you can step upwards. The outer sphere here incarnates cosmological madness, because the outermost sphere is occupied by the moon. It should be the innermost sphere that separates the earth sphere, the realm of the earth, from the heavenly dimensions. The next one is the sphere of the sun, then what follows is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Yeah? And the innermost circle here is the celestial sphere that was called the empyreum, that is, or the crystal sphere. So the last the last wall of the cosmos. Yeah? And usually in the innermost part you are supposed to find nothing else but the earth. Yeah? In a regular Aristotelian vision of the world, you should find the earth, then the sphere of the moon, sphere of the sun, and so forth, up to the eighth spheres, which is the crystal heaven or the empyreum, where the blessed souls are living. You know? So you see also for the people who have been living within this vision of the world, the things were far from being cosmologically clear. So here we find a very strange structure, because here God is in the middle, is in the center of the Aristotelian world, whereas for every good Aristotelian it is absolutely clear that the earth has to be in the center of the Aristotelian sphere, and in the middle of the earth, again, we have in the Catholic tradition, we have another separate world, which is a world within the world, and that is called the hell. You know? So the classical Catholic Aristotelian vision of the world is infernocentric. And as a good reader of Dante, yeah, we know that in the center of the center we have a very impressive inhabitant called Satan, yeah, who is living in the middle of a frozen sea, yeah, crying and weeping all the time, but unable to weep because he is living in such a cold that his tears freeze immediately, so that his eyes are hidden under thick layers of his own frozen tears. Yeah? But he has wings, and he's shaking his wings in such an angry way that he produces enough cold, yeah, to provide cold for all living beings and all creatures that have turned their back to God. Yeah? So the satanic cold, yeah, spreads everywhere from the ice sea at the bottom of the world. This cold penetrates as a kind of perverse air conditioning system, yeah, yeah, and just into the soul of every human being. Yeah, we are, as it were, air conditioned by the devil. Yeah, our cooling systems are directly connected with the bottom of hell, from where all metaphysical cold stems. Yeah? The rest of the hell is hot. Yeah? It's a hot hell. Only the bottom of the hell is a cold hell, and all the other layers of the hell, all circular. But by the way, yeah? It's a perfect. It's the triumph of a perfect urbanistic rationality. Yeah? It's a perfectly round city in 9 layers. Why not? Yeah? We meet all these numerological games that were characteristic for the Neoplatonian interpretation of the hierarchy, also on the dark side of the world. Also Dante's hell is, as it were, an inverted Neoplatonian system, organized as the city of suffering, or as you say, as a regno of pain. Die Wegestadt heißt es an einer Stelle im Deutschen. The painful city. But Dante's urbanistic ambitions are really impressive. And the division of quarters, and his main concern is to keep separate the different types of sinners. They must not live in the same quarter, and they must not suffer from the same kind of torture. They are well separated. Well, this is essential. For Aristotle, there was no hell. That was a reason because he had a quite simple vision of the world, putting the earth into the center, which, by the way, implied that the earth occupies the lowest place in the cosmos. It is not a privilege. It is a disadvantage to be in the center. That is, by the way, what Sigmund Freud had not understood when he invented his famous myth, or also all modern interpreters of the so-called Copernican turn had not really understood that to be placed in the middle of the cosmos was not a privilege, but a cosmic disadvantage, because the Earth occupies a place that has displayed the biggest possible distance towards the ethereal spheres. And when all good and substantial and orderly and well-organized things happen up there, the Earth occupies necessarily the most unorderly, the most unruly, the most humble place. And this is the only place in the cosmos where death happens. It is the only place where mortality has come to power. In this lunar world, finiteness is ruling. The four movements have come to power. The fifth movement actually does not exist in the terrestrial dimension, because the pure circularity is a quality of the fifth substance, the quinta essentia, and the quinta essentia is a substance all the spheres beyond the moon are made of. Human beings are deprived of the privilege to participate in the celestial substance. We have no ethereal element in us. We are made out of earth and water and air and fire, and unfortunately ether was forgotten in our construction, and the only thing that helps us to transcend our miserable position is the fact that thanks to the divine creation, we have reason that helps us to climb up the cosmic ladder and to emancipate us from this stronghold of mortality in which we are condemned to live. It is necessary to know that in order to understand why the moderns, the post-Copernican moderns, are all inclined to misinterpret the centrality of the Earth as a privilege. It is exactly the contrary. And we find, by the way, in the literature of the 16th century, for instance, in a famous letter of Melanchthon, a critical hint to the madness of the followers of Copernicus, where he says, "Et etiam terram collocunt inter sidera," and this is an outcry of indignation. He says, these mad new cosmologists, they dare to place the Earth among the stars. So he is indignated because he is unwilling to accept this unbelievable promotion of the Earth into the realm of the planets, because this is a result of the Copernican turn, that the Earth becomes a planet, and as a planet it becomes a rival to Jupiter, to the Sun, to the Moon, to Mercury, to Mars, and the other planets. We used to call stars. The Earth never was a star. It became a star through the consequences of the Copernican turn. So it was an incredible ontological and cosmological upgrading that happened to the Earth through the Copernican turn. And it's a pity for Sigmund Freud, who ignored the story and who told us the famous myth that humanity had to deal with at least three big vexations. Vexation. What is this? Die Kränkung in English? Is this vexation? Is this the same term? The first vexation being the so-called Copernican was when we were removed from the center of the Earth, from the cosmos, not knowing that this was the best thing that could happen to the Earth. The Darwinian one and the one he himself had introduced. But the real event is that the Aristotelian vision of the world, and that is what medieval philosophy is basically all about. The Aristotelian vision of the world was combined in the medieval metaphysics with the Neoplatonian interpretation of the system of the rings of emanation that surround the godlike central point. In the theocentric vision of the world, God is in the center. And this picture shows us how the theocentric vision of the world interferes with the Aristotelian vision of the world, which is basically and necessarily geocentric. The Earth has to be in the center of the world, but in the imagination of medieval thought, the two systems, the emanation system and the Aristotelian system, were confused and combined, even by force. And even it led to totally absurd consequences. For instance, the constructions of World's Fairs with 22 circles, which were absolutely incoherent and made ontologically and metaphysically and cosmologically no sense at all. You will see, if we go on, how these new constructions look like. For instance, on page 478.
414.
Yeah.
414.
We have a cosmos. This is a picture from the 17th century. It's a late avatar of the medieval cosmological speculation. It is an absolutely strange projection that shows how the Neoplatonic system, as it was designed by pseudo Dionysius Areopagita, and the Aristotelian system were combined. You see here Terra in the middle. That much is correct. And then you have what is really strange. The first four spheres are the elements: terra, aqua, aer, ignis, which is in itself an absurdity, because the elements had never been conceived as spheres before. Then you get the next 8 spheres which belong to Luna, cosmologically correct. Mercury, correct. Venus, correct. Sol, the Sun. Yeah. Jupiter, Saturnus, and then Coelum Stellatum. That is the layer of the heaven which is also called the Empyreum or the crystal heaven. Yeah. Okay, we are here already on the 10th, or no, on the 15th level, and then follow 9 layers, 9 steps that belong to the emanationist system, yeah, to the Platonist, Neoplatonic system. Angeli, Archangeli, Virtutes, Principatus, Potestatis, Troni, Dominationes, Cherubim, and Seraphim. Yeah. So these 9 layers correspond to the system of Pseudo-Dionysius Areopagita. Ja?
Da ist noch eine gedeckt. Da ist noch ein Foto. Das ist gedeckt.
Yeah, and that is, and the outermost skirt.
Antes de Dios parece que hay otra esfera medio cubierta.
Can you read?
¿Qué pone ahí?
Yeah. And the number 1, I can read it. What is this? Mens.
Mens.
Ah, yeah, mens.
Mens.
Yeah, mens. Yeah. Mens. Okay. Yeah. This is the mens. This is the
Rationalism.
Yeah.
Rational.
Yeah. So this is, yeah. And what is the most amazing point? Yeah, the man who constructed this picture makes the assumption that God Himself is still totally eccentric. But
Engel und Erzengel.
Yeah.
Por encima de los ángeles y los arcángeles, la razón.
Yeah.
Teocéntrico. Está bien, es curioso.
Yeah.
Are you sure that it's men? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Can you read?
Yeah.
Rationalism, Catholic rationalism.
Yeah, but actually, I'm not quite sure if it's really very Catholic, but, because the picture is taken from Robert Flood.
Catholic rationalism.
And Flood was a theosophist who lived at the periphery of classical Christian thought. Maybe not necessarily a good Catholic, because this is not very Catholic. I would say this is not really. It's not Catholic. But by the way, God Himself seems to have the capacity to create an explosion of its own. He makes, as it were, a second explosion that does not really interfere with this system of steps and layers. For those of you who are able to read Hebrew characters, would probably find also a Kabbalistic interpretation of the picture, because the second row are not the ordinary numbers, but elements of the Hebrew alphabet.
Vielleicht ist es Absicht, dass das letzte Mens bedeckt ist.
Yeah, no, I glaube it's just it is a graphic obstacle. But I think you are right.
These are circles. They are not circles. It's a spiral.
Yeah, it's a spiral form. Yeah, that's due to the fact that for Robert Flood is one of the thinkers who has first thrown first glimpses into the world of evolution. So, and the spiral form is a geometrical approach to the idea of evolution, that something can turn around and get higher at the same time. So it is a compromise between geometry and history. So this is one of the ways how time enters into the pure morphological observation. that is an idea that sooner or later will lead into the Hegelian world, where time and being were correlated for the first time in such a dramatic way. And even if Hegel tried as hard as he could to remain faithful to the priority of the logical relationships, otherwise you would not need a Hegelian logic. If everything is evolution, you do not need a logic. You just need a big enough narrative. But Hegel and his fellow philosophers were living exactly on the threshold between this divine mathematics and divine geometry and history. And that's the way how time invaded into the atemporal dimension of the creation. There are other very weird pictures. One I love very much is the painting of Francesco Botticini, the Ascension of Mary. You find that in the German version on page 522. I love it because it is one of the clearest demonstration of Catholic Neoplatonism, where all...
Bastante más adelante.
Because this is...
Como unas 20 páginas más tiene que estar, más o menos.
It is somewhere in the middle.
Sí, 433. No, 53.
Yeah, it is next.
Sí, 450.
It is next to the
53.
Next to the Stockhausen picture. Francesco Botticini, the Ascension of Mary. This is my inspiration. Ascension.
Ascension de Maria.
Ascension de Maria. At the bottom you see the empty tomb, surrounded by angels, to be sure, and this is the most beautiful form of a Christian op-ion. You know the op-ion. This is the open spot in the cupola, in the dome of the Pantheon in Rome. And here you get a Christian version of this op-ion. You can look into the heavenly spheres, and inside are sitting, as in a big divine opera house, the angelic audience. It's very nice. There are 9 layers. So Neoplatonically correct. They are sitting in the logen, in this neon logen, and are all participating in the main event of this opera, which is the Ascension, so the elevation of Mary and her integration into the Holy Family. It is for Catholics, this is a sublime moment, because from this moment on we cannot be sure that the Trinity is only male.
But there is a point, It's not ascension, it's asunción. It's not active but passive. She's not going by herself.
Activity and passivity.
It is a technical question. If she has an own motor, or if she's attracted. So she's and this is, by the way, a very Aristotelian idea. Because in the Aristotelian world, the strongest causality is the causality of attraction. But it is not the string magnetic attraction, but it is a metaphysical attraction, because nothing is so attractive as goodness.
Quizás podamos leer esa pequeña...
It is not, it is or as it were, it is a kind of metaphysical magnetism. Nothing is so attractive and so powerful as a good that pulls everything towards itself. And so probably Mary did not need a bike or nor an aircraft device or something like this. Yeah, her elevation was just the fact that her body and her soul corresponded to divine attraction.
Yo creo que la esencia, la quinta esencia, me di cuenta tan pronto lo dije, pero dije no quería interrumpir. La quinta esencia quizás esté en esa cita que podíamos leer, está de inmediato ahí pegado en el final de la página. Un momento, lo acabo de tener en alemán.
Liest du es mal
Ja, ganz kurz. Ja. Lo tengo en alemán y me acaba la traducción. Lo acabo de tener ahora, si lo tengo aquí en alemán. ¿Dónde está el Robert Flood en español? ¿Dónde está? Aquí lo está, ya lo tengo. Final de la página 453. Como hemos visto, aquí, porque le hace el punto filosófico de todo lo que lleva diciendo hasta ahora. Como hemos visto desde el punto de vista de la historia de las ideas, la duplicación de totalidad geocéntrica y totalidad teocéntrica no es un propión de la metafísica cristiano-católica, sino una consecuencia necesaria de la decisión esférica fundamental del clasicismo griego. Esto me parece importante remarcarlo. En el racionalismo esferológico de Platón, ¿dónde continúa esto? En el racionalismo esferológico de Platón, que recibe estímulos por su parte de Parménides, Empédocles y Pitágoras, no se expresa solo un optimismo morfológico forzado. A través de él se establece a la vez la alianza entre pensamiento de totalidad y geometría, alianza que desde entonces ha de mantenerse ante los ojos como la característica fuerte del pensamiento de la antigua Europa sobre el ser. El racionalismo geométrico, o más bien uranométrico, es la respuesta creadora del pensamiento griego al reto del gran mundo. Eso es puesto porque le precede la pregunta acuciante por la magnitud y forma del mundo. Es creador porque ya no solo experimenta la magnitud de la forma del mundo como un destino indescifrable, sino que contribuye a producirla por medio de presencia de espíritu constructiva y la penetra con distinciones propias. Bajo este aspecto, los esferogramas de la filosofía de la naturaleza griega, así como las fantasías corales de los angeloteólogos, son emblemas de la capacidad madura para encerrar la totalidad maximizada en una representación formal, clara y precisa. De hecho, el cosmos, antes de que simbolizado como esfera pueda ser colocado bajo el pie de un emperador o como globo imperial, coronado por una cruz en su mano, tiene que ser concebido en el pensar como totalidad iluminada, medida, bien construida. Por su mera apariencia, estos globos claman hacia su constructor, y solo en el ámbito de audibilidad de ese clamor pueden encontrarse pensadores y regentes universales. El texto de ese clamor es inequívoco: pertenezco a aquel que sea capaz de construirme en mi verdadera forma. El panteón romano es el testimonio más fuerte de cómo fue escuchado ese clamor.
I would like to read with you another passage from this chapter. Let us begin on the page where I start my discussion of the Liber Viginti Quatuor Philosophorum.
467.
Hast du die?
Ja, habe ich schon.
Hast du schon gefunden?
Ja, hier.
Okay. Lass uns das gemeinsam lesen. Bis hin zu den Definitionen.
¿Soll ich anfangen?
Ja. Ich würde sagen, ja, hier, damit ein bisschen.
Sí, empezamos en la 465 y vamos a leerlo hasta la 467 und währenddessen kannst du dir weiter überlegen, wie
Ja, genau.
Okay? Holst auch ein bisschen Luft, kannst auch was trinken, wenn du willst.
Ja.
Por muy explosivas que hayan sido las consecuencias derivadas de la decisión fundamental monoteísta de formar una díada con el absoluto, quizá más detonantes aún fueran los efectos de la radicalización del atributo de Dios, infinitud, en la teología de la alta y la baja edad media. Se podría llegar a considerar incluso el juego de los teólogos con el concepto de infinitud como un experimento cuyos resultados arruinaron el proyecto medieval de mundo. Quizá lo que se llama Edad Moderna sea, ante todo, una formación reactiva de las subculturas conceptualmente sensibles a la vacuna con el infinito. Con el giro hacia el infinitismo, en la esfera de luz interpretada teocéntricamente, se introduce la paradoja espacial y hoy eo ipso una irrepresentabilidad aguda. En lo sucesivo...
Irrepresentabilidad, okay, wunderbar. Ja.
En lo sucesivo, también el Dios de los filósofos se oculta completamente en lo oscuro, como si no quisiera en absoluto ser menos que el fundamento cristiano del mundo en oscuridad misteriosa. Se sumerge en un abismo de extravagantes determinaciones que no ofrecen sentido alguno a la imaginación espacial corriente. Con ello, el design inmunológico de la forma metafísica de mundo, la bóveda geometrizada del todo como último peldaño de abstracción de la heterotécnica y del habitáculo del ser, entra en una crisis de la que no puede encontrarse ya salida conservadora alguna. ¿Cómo habría de representarse siquiera una esfera actualmente infinita? Una esfera cuyo centro no tiene lugar alguno, porque brotando de puntos que estallan, se repite hasta el infinito. ¿Cómo relacionarse con un monstruo geométrico tal? ¿Y cómo, en tanto criatura, sentirse encuadrado en un orden de tal descentramiento? ¿No había citado Aristóteles en su tratado sobre el cielo razones concluyentes de por qué un cuerpo infinitamente grande es un absurdo, de modo que tras él ya quedó claro que había que contemplar el universo como un máximo, un bien conformado, precisamente como esa esfera celeste, una y única? La fuente decisiva para la colocación por doquier del otro centro, el difamado Liber Viginti Quatuor Philosophorum, confirma expresamente el diagnóstico de crisis. En él tenemos el documento fundamental del hermetismo filosófico en la Alta Edad Media. La teosofía es la forma de pensamiento que todo lo fía en Dios y que sólo asigna al mundo el valor posicional de un pliegue complejo en el interior del absoluto. El pensamiento hermético, a su vez, es una parte de aquellas formidables ciencias ocultas que querían hacer partícipes a los seres humanos de un poder ilimitado. El libro de los 24 filósofos fue traducido del griego al latín o compilado por redactores occidentales pocos decenios antes del año 1200, posiblemente. Quizás sea incluso la copia o la actualización de un tratado alejandrino del siglo III. Tercero, que puede llegar a Europa por caminos poco claros y en el que, según hipótesis más recientes, se conservarían fragmentos de una teología aristotélica que se creía perdida. Otros autores consideran el Liber como una compilación de frases del neoplatónico jámblico. En torno al año 1200, el libro ya está muy difundido en el occidente latino. Aunque no se digna mencionar artículo de fe cristiano alguno, se cotiza mucho entre la élite del clero europeo, tal como demuestra el número de los manuscritos conservados. Quien ha conseguido su literatura alguna vez en librerías alternativas sabe qué significa informarse a partir de fuentes que sobrealimentan a los lectores con informaciones completamente diferentes a las usuales. La lista de pensadores de primer rango impresionados o influenciados por el libro, el Meister Eckhart, Nicolás de Cusa, Giordano Bruno, Leibniz, asegura al pequeño escrito un lugar respetable en la historia de la especulación metafísica. La obra, cuyo autor figura como la persona fantástica de Hermes Trismegisto, el primer sabio, según la leyenda de la antigüedad tardía, del que tanto Moisés como Platón habrían extraído sus doctrinas, conduce sin rodeos a las tierras altas de la teosofía neoplatónica, 10.000 pies más allá de sacerdocio y catecismo. En la introducción se dice lapidariamente que 24 filósofos, como si no se tratara de personal sospechoso, se habrían reunido para recopilar sus respuestas a la pregunta «Quid est Deus?», con la idea de llegar a una determinación final común reuniendo las diferentes tesis, determinación a la que, por cierto, no se llegará. Tras esta lacónica observación previa siguen 24 definiciones de Dios que, sin derivación unas de otras, pasan por delante del lector como una lluvia meteorítica de rápidas proposiciones especulativas de consistencia y audacia sin par. Para nosotros son de especial la primera, la segunda y la 18ª.
Die erste, die zweite, die 18.
Genau.
I just wanted to add one thing. So, what is remarkable, we have 24 philosophers, and every philosopher has only one sentence. This is a unique situation. It is philosophy beyond discussion, because it is, as it were, a kind of artilleristic exercise. You only have one shot, and every shot must hit. By the way, the greatest scholar in medieval studies in Germany, Kurt Flasch, has made a new edition of the Liber 24 Philosophorum 6 or 8 weeks ago, with a very fine commentary. The book as such is very short because 24 shots. That is not much text, but he has written an incredibly sublime commentary on it. And for me it is a particular satisfaction when he says in his commentary that my interpretation has led the literature on that book onto a new level. So you can congratulate afterwards on an individual basis. But it is that does not very happen very often in the life of a philosopher. That really the greatest scholar in a field explains his recognition in such an outspoken way. This is really not an ordinary event. By the way, I quote from Kurt Flasch's translation of this book, the first, the second, and the third. We could read that together, at least the first one, because the 18th one, and then the rest. Also, Deus est monas, monadem gignens, in se unum reflectens ardorem. This is the most burning sentence that the classical Neoplatonism has ever produced. You have to read that.
Fantastic. Reguera ha traducido retroflexionar. Fantastic. ¿Existe esa palabra en español?
Can you read the Spanish translation?
Dios es la mónada. ¿Se dice mónada? Monada es otra cosa, claro. Dios es la mónada. Dios es la mónada, qué cosa que raro me suena. Dios es la mónada que engendra la mónada y la hace retroflexionar hacia sí en un único soplo ardiente. Retroflexionar me parece un neologismo fantástico. De retro de reflexión.
But it is at the same time is without a commentary. It remains absolutely hermetic because how can a monas give birth to another monas and bow back this born monad into itself. But as you will see, this is just the scheme, the basic scheme of the Neoplatonic emanation process. God is a point. Here we encounter once more this mysterious entity on which the Greek geometry is based. So God is one point, extensionless point, that bursts out of itself into the biggest of all possible spheres. It is an explosive moment. The point explodes and creates the biggest monas, the smallest monas, the almost non-existent monas, creates the biggest of all possible monads, and then it does something very strange. There is a point of return, because we are not, we have not yet entered into the world of Big Bang logic, which is a logic of no return. It is a Neoplatonic logic. That means every particle emanated out of an original explosion is pulled back by the gravitational forces of this almost inexisting center from which it originally originated. So everything that emanated from the center is sent out until a certain point when the explosion power is, as it were, consumed. Then it makes a movement for which the Neoplatonists have a particular term borrowed by Plato, which is an epistrophe. It turns back, and it returns into the source. And the first movement is called the prohodos. In French, l'aller. So prohodos, which literally means the way on. Then follows the turn, epistrophe, and the other way is called anodos, the way back. By the way, we know the term anodos from our electrician, because we describe the negative wire in our electric cables as anode pole. So they do not know that they are talking pure Neoplatonian jargon when we plug in. We are always a little bit practitioners of Neoplatonic vocabulary. And this has to be understood when you want to know what the first philosopher is talking about. So he grasps the philosophical bull directly by its horns and gives the most demanding definition that is ever possible of what the Neoplatonic God is all about. It is a monad that creates a monad, so it is the minimum that creates a maximum and brings all that which has emanated back into itself. And that's the reason why there is also a Neoplatonic Trinity, because everything that is in the world can be described from three different points of view. Everything is on the way out, everything is on the way in, and everything rests in the place where it always used to be. So we have three functions within God. The creative function, that is a way out. God is a creator in as much as the explosion is always going on. God is a savior or an assembler or a savior in as much as he brings everything back to him. And God is at eternal rest in as much as everything that is emanated and brought back remains at the same time always within him. That is the Neoplatonic term moné, which means resting or bleiben. Die Bleibe. There is an eternal moné, an eternal remaining, an eternal explosion, and an eternal edifying recollection of everything that had been emanated. That is one of the reasons why Neoplatonist thinkers always felt at the same time familiar and uneasy with the Christian interpretation of Trinity, because Neoplatonists have a Trinity of their own. Prohodos, Anodos, Monet. And this is a totally different system.
Mm-hmm.
But it has an incredible explicatory power. You can, once you have understood the system, there's nothing in the world that resists a redescription in Neoplatonic terms. That is so impressive. And by the way, modern evolutionary and modern evolutionism is in a certain way only ein halbierter Neoplatonismus.
Neoplatonismo partido, la mitad de un neoplatonismo.
Yeah, it's ein halber. Yeah? It's just one half of the. It is a Neoplatonism, that knows only the explosive moment without return, and without the movement of recollection, and without Monet, without the remaining function. And the second sentence is also quite demanding and geometrically very inspiring. It says, Deus est Sphaera infinita, cuius centrum est ubique, circumferentia nusquam.
Dios es la esfera infinita cuyo centro está en todas partes y su circunferencia en ninguna.
This is yeah.
Está todo dicho, ¿no?
Yeah.
Después de 4 días con esferología está todo dicho, ¿no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is probably the best question you can ask, or could be asked in your philosophical final examination. If you can give the correct answer to the correct interpretation to that, I would bet that you have become a complete philosopher. Because you should have found a way to give a satisfying interpretation to an obviously absurd, geometrically absurd sentence that becomes theologically and cosmologically coherent. But how? So if you have an idea, but by the way, and the last one, the 18 is also very beautiful. The 18th, God, das ist die Kugel, die so viele Umfänge wie Punkte hat.
Dios es la esfera que tiene tantas circunferencias como puntos. Aquí ya se resume todo.
But if you turn the page, you will see a picture, an illustration from the book of Thomas Wright, an original theory or new hypothesis of the universe. We are in the middle of the 18th century. That was the golden age of the multiple universes theories. Leibniz and his fellow philosophers in that time, they were all indulging with the fantasies of multiple universes. And we are lucky to still possess a couple of pictures that show how these intelligences understood the concept of multiple universes. You have this beautiful picture, and you see very clearly that all these worlds are intelligences. So every world is an intelligence having a central organ, which is a spheric eye, a not lateralized eye. We have been talking about that strange object, an eye that is not lateralized, that does not have a dark spot, an eye that is capable of looking around itself in 360 degrees. So, a divine eye. And around a divine eye, inevitably a universe rises. And the designer of this picture draw the ultimate consequences of this assumption. He demonstrates the multiplicity of divine eyes and shows how every eye is surrounded by a complete emanation system that is shaped by its own rays of sight. So an eye that is capable of emanating universes and recollecting universes, as all these universes coexist. This is so strange. And that shows that here begins, in a way, in the 18th century, they already had the first glimpse into what we call postmodernism today, because but in a naive cosmological form, they had no problems with the coexistence of universes. There were Leibnizian mathematicians, who tried to develop types of mathematics that were said to be valuable in every possible universe. And here we are. But in the meantime, we have replaced the worlds and the intelligences by the cultures. So we simply should remove the eye symbol in this picture and put a culture into it, or a tribe, or a village, or a nation, or a minority. It would inevitably lead to almost the same graphic structure. Replace the eye by a minority, and you have a postmodern cosmology, postmodern pattern. A couple of pages later, you find from the mathematician Leonhard Euler a reproduction of an illustration to a book very well known in the 18th century in Germany, Briefe an eine deutsche Prinzessin.
472.
Another late example of what I have been talking about yesterday, that the Republic of Letters was really made out of written letters. Here, a mathematician writes a letter to a German princess and explains to her how the coexistence of multiple words can be imagined. And in these times you always find illustrations of that type. One of the most famous illustrations from a Leibnizian book is a philosopher standing in the park of Versailles, talking to a princess and explaining to her the Leibnizian principle of the principium identitatis indiscernibilium, holding two leaves of a tree in his hand and explaining to her why two things that can be distinguished cannot be distinguished are identical, whereas similarity does not suffice to declare identity, because he is holding two almost identical leaves of a tree in his hand, and the princess may be inclined to assume that these leaves are identical. He says no, as long as they are individual entities, they cannot be identical. Only if something is really undistinguishable, it can be said identical. It is a logically dramatic moment because here was the first time you see the inversion between the principium identitatis and the principium differentia. So identity is taken as a limit case of difference. So if difference fails it must be. It must more or less be identity. Yeah? But in reality, difference is leading. Yeah? It is the same. At the same time, the same thing happens in mathematics. For instance, in the relationship between ellipses and circles. Yeah? The circle is no longer the primary form, but the circle is exactly that ellipse in which the two focuses cannot be distinguished. So, if the ellipse takes the lead, and the ellipse is the leading form, the standard form. Bipolarity is a mathematically leading form, but as a limit value of the construction of ellipses, there exists the tiny possibility that the two focuses of the ellipse coincide, and that is what we call a circle. And this is also mathematically a departure from the dogmatism of identity, because bipolarity, or the quality of having two Brennpunkte, two focuses, becomes the leading pattern. And also, already in the 18th century, that's what I want to say, the beginnings of what we now call Differenzphilosophie, had already been laid. And we are just reactivating the logical potentials that go back to the 18th century. And these pictures are very beautiful illustrations of that fact.
Atención a esto, está partiendo de lo más trascendente de lo que está diciendo esta tarde. Porque es un punto que a partir de la cosmología medieval nos permite reinterpretar toda la discusión sobre la filosofía de la diferencia, introduciendo a través de la diferencia entre círculo y elipse.
But let me just
muy especulativo, pero muy concreto.
In order to reach the end of our session, I just want to show you the consequences of all these reflections. The book of the 24 philosophers released the disaster or the catastrophe of philosophical and theological thought, because here, in an indirect way, the idea of infinity invades the philosophical and theological discourse. And if there is one quality that God, as a really existing God, cannot have, that is infinity. Unfortunately, the theologists did not understand that, and they were the group of the most eager thinkers that wanted to celebrate their God by attributing him to this deadly quality. But infinity is exactly that what kills, what will kill God. Yeah? They had not understood that God, as a God who can be a savior, a God who can be a shield, a God that can be a refuge, a God that can be a collector, a recollector of that which has been created, must never be infinite. Infinity is a deadly attribute, because with the quality of infinity, God loses his most important quality, and that is the quality to be the highest form of an immune system. So, or in other words, he can no longer be life. If God is life, you have to understand that life is something that cannot exist without immunity structures, because life is a self-sustaining, self-protecting, self-breeding, and self-healing entity. And if you take that away, if you introduce the virus of infinity into that which should be life, you kill it immediately. And from the 13th century on, theologists became, without knowing what they do, just a faculty of God killers, because they could not prevent to kill God. They could not avoid to kill him by praising him as infinity. It was really the prayer of the madman by saying, "Oh, how infinite you are." They made him disappear by attributing him this deadly quality of infinity. And they took off his most precious quality to be the highest ally of life. The highest ally of life should be life by himself. If not, it makes no sense to get connected to a non-life principle. This is one of the ideas that I'm dealing with in the following chapters, the following passages of this paragraph, Deus sive Sphaera. The book has the great disadvantage that the chapters in themselves are books. And no reader wants to read books in books. This is the mistake you have to forgive me when you really want to read that book. You must accept that here are 8 books in one book, and the tragic chapter is this one, Deus sive Sphaera, or the exploding all in one.
Ich würde sagen, langsam dem Ende zu gehen, dass wir die Folgen kurz vorlesen.
¿Viste das? Ja, wunderbar.
Propongo que ya para ir acabando, quizás nos veamos un pasaje donde él trata densamente, como siempre, las consecuencias de lo que él llama el giro infinitista. Está al final de la página 477.
Wo finden wir das? Ist hier für Anfang? Und in der spanischen
Das habe ich schon gefunden. 477.
Okay.
Schau mal kurz
Da lese ich ein bisschen
Weil
mit.
das ist sehr schön, deine Sache auf den Punkt bringt, um langsam dem Ende zu gehen. Las consecuencias, hasta Copérnico vamos a leer, un parágrafo. Las consecuencias del giro infinitista son incalculables. El establishment trascendencia entero tuvo que ser barrido fuera a causa de la devastadora colocación del centro en todas partes. Pues en lo infinito pierde todo punto de apoyo la idea sacerdotal de que determinadas personas e instituciones estén más cerca de Dios. Ciertamente no nos la sabemos aquí con un dogma cosmosférico, ni sobre todo con uno político eclesial o crítico romano, sino con una tesis sobre cuya pertenencia a un experimento teosófico teosférico difícilmente realizable para los profanos no existe duda alguna. Pero, dado que la confusión constitutiva para el efecto universo católico entre los campos teológico y cosmológico de enunciados posibilita y favorece el intercambio puntual de doctrinas, resulta natural que la arriesgada infinitización de la esfera de Dios comporte consecuencias para la construcción, o más bien destrucción, del sistema cosmosférico geocéntrico. Es verdad que el drama de la modernidad, del mundo cerrado al universo abierto que Alexandre Coiré tipificó en el título de su estudio, solo llegará a su culminación en su propio campo y con argumentos típicamente sistemáticos, pero la fiebre infinitista salta de la dimensión teosférica al campamento de los cosmógrafos y cosmólogos. El fenómeno Giordano Bruno muestra claramente cómo el espíritu de la deslimitación, el fenómeno Bruno muestra claramente cómo el espíritu de la deslimitación saca a Dios y al mundo a la vez de sus viejas fórmulas. Quizás un par de frases.
Okay, yeah.
Ganz kurz noch. Después de Copérnico, el universo tuvo que hacerse repetir con buenas razones que ya no podía ofrecer a los habitantes de la Tierra la antigua seguridad de las cubiertas. La edad moderna y la modernidad pueden caracterizarse inequívocamente por una reestructuración radical de las relaciones de inmunidad. Aquí lo aplica su propio vocabulario, lo que dijo antes. Pero no son Copérnico, Diches y Bruno quienes, en un proceso de daños relativo a la historia de las ideas, hubieran de responsabilizarse por consecuencias a largo plazo del infinitismo. Pues, si se entienden bien las cosas, mucho antes de sus tesis cosmológicas, la existencia humana ya había perdido todo estado de seguridad en el Dios desbaratado por el hermetismo. La teosfera infinitizada ya no procura protección alguna, pone en libertad. El Dios de los teósofos herméticos se ha convertido del todo en un Dios inquietante, no cobijante, en el que no se alcanza a ver cómo podría cumplir su tarea inmunizadora para un mundo finito y para inteligencias finitas. Ese Dios, pensado especulativamente más allá de antes, quizá hasta el final, no solo ha perdido todo matiz de temple personalista, ni siquiera posee ya una única propiedad evangélica. Con él no se puede fraternizar como con el Cristo. Tampoco se ve ya en él cómo la geometrización del espacio interior ha de lograr todavía sus efectos inmunizadores, en términos de la antigua Europa, edificantes para la cosmoespacio-visión humana.
Mhm. Ich möchte noch einen Satz gerne, das möchte ich auf Spanisch hören. Was sagt, die Mystik ist die erworbene Immunschwäche der regionalen Ontologie.
De acuerdo. Das ist
Das ist ein fürchterlicher Satz. Darum ist es absurd zu behaupten.
Ah ja. Sag mir den deutschen Satz nochmal. Sag mir den deutschen Satz. Ich
darum ist es absurd zu behaupten. Ja.
Por eso es absurdo afirmar final de 479. Por eso es absurdo afirmar que la descentralización o descentralización europea comenzó político internacionalmente. Ende 479. Letzter Absatz, 479. Y que bueno, lo está buscando él también en español, quiere ver cómo suena en español esto. Por eso es absurdo afirmar que la excentralización o descentralización europea comenzó político internacionalmente, teórico internacionalmente, teológico internacionalmente, en el año 1945. Hay toda una estética, una ética y casi una metafísica del guión por parte de Isidoro Reguera, por aquí, que es muy lograda, me parece. Una fecha que solo es de importancia porque a partir de ella, incluso el último viejo europeo, hubo de hacerse cargo de la situación. Así pues, una vez más, Hanse del Maya y la pérdida del centro, Verlust Mitte. El auténtico proceso de descentralización obedece a impulsos que se remontan al auge de la ola mística en el umbral del siglo XIII. Aquí está la frase. La mística, la repito dos veces, la mística es la debilidad inmunológica adquirida de las ontologías regionales. La mística es la debilidad inmunológica adquirida de las ontologías regionales. Un epitafio quizás para alguien. Uno se cierra a causa de un contacto no protegido del pensar con el concepto agudizado de infinito. Una esfera cuyo contorno no estuviera en parte alguna porque su centro está en todas. Una esfera, me parece un excelente final, efectivamente, casi el resumen de todo el día. Se saben fácil detalles. Una esfera cuyo centro no se puede encontrar porque su contorno se pierde en el infinito. Quien realmente se hubiera interesado por el centro perdido, habría dirigido sus indagaciones, en primer lugar, al contorno perdido del Dios infinitizado de la edad moderna. En esos análisis se habría puesto de relieve que la teología infinitista es la fuente fundamental del nihilismo. Ella es responsable de la equivalencia entre ser ahí e inseguridad. Ella es la negación inicial de todas las demandas humanas de inmunidad. Und jetzt ist es am besten zu schweigen, oder?
Ja.
Quizás ahora lo mejor es callarse
Ja.
y dejar que eso nos inmerja y nos inmerjamos nosotros.
No,
¿Cómo se hace un sustantivo de inmersión ahí? Y nos inmerjamos nosotros, que suena muy raro, pero me entiende, ¿verdad? Activamente, verbo activo, no pasivo.
Yeah, but in mysticism, silence is the answer. But for us, we're just poor philosophers. We have to talk on. And talking on means that we have to perform the next step. If it is true that philosophy can make this labor of mourning about the lost empire of metaphysics, it is also true that thinking will go on. Thinking under new conditions within a new framework of references, and the sphereological work now begins anew from a new point of departure. And in the what we have to accept in the post-metaphysical position as a first evidence of post-metaphysical thinking is that the monospheric reconstruction of everything there is has been a failure, but nevertheless thinking has to go on, also under the form of spheric thinking, but from now on as a pluralistic sphereology. And the basic symbol of what it means to think pluralistically is for me the foam. Foam, in Spanish is espumas, espuma, foam. Yeah? This is these are the physical best symbols of multi-chamber systems, of coexistent spatial extensions that create intensive forms of neighborhoods which are characterized by the fact that neighbors always have something in common. That is the thin wall that separates them. This is maybe the most important definition of foam-like structures. We share that which separates us, and we elaborate our divisions or our separating walls, and to take up the thread of our commentary on Heidegger of yesterday evening, when he said human beings are world-creating individuals or world-creating beings. We now would have to add they are also wall-creating. Because without walls, there are no worlds either. And we have to rethink the whole problematic of borders and limitedness in terms of concrete immune structures. You have to develop a new form of theory of architecture. As we are creatures that are designed to live in houses. In apartments, we are wall makers. Apartments, according to me, are spatialized immune systems. Nations, cities, and so forth are spatialized immunitarian structures. All that has to be rethought from a immunological point of view. And the great adventure of post-metaphysical thinking. That is my conviction. The great adventure of philosophical thinking in our position is the transformation of classical metaphysics into what I call general immunology.
The Sistipasis es la base de mañana, del tercer bloque, es la base sistemática.
That will be the basic assumption we'll be dealing with tomorrow. When we meet at 10 o'clock in the morning, be prepared. Bring your best immune systems you can have. Yeah. So intellectually, maybe a little bit disarmed, but physiologically as strong as you can be. It will be quite a long session because we have decided to anticipate the evening session and to combine it with the morning session. And we will stay together approximately until 1:30 or so.
Yeah. Un segundo, una pequeña cuestión. ¿Sí?
Yes, this is probably a minor curiosity question, but I was thinking if in the first picture you proposed, if it can be seen as a representation from the inside of the cosmic onion in the Aristotelic system, like with the hole, and you're looking at the top of the I'm talking about the Nicolas Terrestre picture.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems to me that if you look at it as like from within the sphere, it fits with the Aristotelic system. Is it possible? I don't know if it's possible for the representational moment.
Yeah, you are completely right. But the order of spheres is inverted. Yeah? If God were at the right place, he should come down to earth, and look out into the cosmos, and the first sphere he should see should be the moon sphere. From where is he looking into the cosmos when the moon sphere appears in the outermost circle? That is so strange. So God should become a man and then share with man the outlook into the moon sphere. But here God had not become a man. He remained God, eccentric and theocentric at the same time. And I think this divine madness can be demonstrated in the way the painter of the Livre du ciel et du monde has represented the world vision of his time. So, because the spheres should be shaped the other way around. The curve is on the wrong side. Mm-hmm. That is so strange. But it reflects the fact that the medieval thinking could never get beyond the bipolarity of its basic world models. You have a theocentrical world vision and a geocentrical, an Aristotelian and a Platonic or Neoplatonic. And they could never abandon this mad effort to make coincide both constructions, and this sublime madness is reflected in the pictures themselves. And so instead of deconstruction, I propose a close reading of the picture. You have to look at the picture until you suddenly understand what is going wrong with this world. Yeah. Okay, we have reached the minutes. The minutes hasten.